think we should only ever be competing with being better versions of ourselves, not necessarily being who they are.
And that's what we're taking away from today, is facing the fire.
Like, why am I doing this? And then I was justifying, and then I was validating, and then justifying in linen shorts with no undies.
Yeah.
One of my pinnacles of success was a long marriage.
Yeah,
like
no,
I could
don't
think
go the
about
other
every
way.
other way that
Don't
that
go
could
the other way.
Am I doing enough? Am I being enough?
Sometimes dumb shit's just going to happen and you just have to keep moving forward.
You just have to ring your best friend and laugh about it.
Kick those knickers off your foot.
I go through my ebbs and flows of how I feel being a salon owner and whether I'm doing enough and whether I'm being enough. And I hold on real tight to the hope of what that could look like. If I could keep it moving, then it wouldn't all fall apart.
Put your arms around you and give yourself a little cuddle and tell yourself that you're going to be okay.
And if you really bring it back to that, how could you have imposter syndrome?
But that's not what life was.
That is fruitless.
Fruitless.
You need to hold on to what is real,
Yes.
not what it might be. Lovers, just a quick one. If you listen to us and you love us, could you please hit that subscribe button? I know it's a pain, but that little button means the world to us and our podcast, and means that we can get more great guests on like we know you guys love listening to. So do a girl a favor, hit subscribe, and we would be so grateful.
We just wanted to say a massive thank you to our podcast sponsor, Kevin Murphy, distributed by Ozday, and thank them for being the most amazing brand partner for Salon Rising. This brand is truly incredible and we are so excited to work alongside you.
Welcome back to the Inner Sanctum, Salon Rising, the podcast. See, it just rolls off the tongue now.
You definitely had to think about it. Yeah.
I'm nailing it though.
Salon
Let's be real.
Rising,
the podcast. It's another vulnerability episode, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I like we've spoken a lot before about the Resilience Project, Hugh Van Cuylenberg. Love that man. And they do the vulnerability.
Yeah.
It's definitely something I could get on board with.
Yeah.
Let's just go vulnerable to start off with. What happened 2 seconds before we started to record, Samara?
I had a phone call from my nanny to tell me that my son is vomiting.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's going to be a good time when I've also just moved house. So I am exhausted. I feel like my eyeballs are going to fall out of my head. And the thought of gastro now going through my large family does not bring me joy.
That does not spark joy.
But I was like, okay, how do I be grateful? I'm grateful that it's the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And hopefully by the tonight he's stopped. I'm grateful that I only have him and Sadie home tonight because everybody else is hours at camp and the little boys with their mum. And I'm grateful that I can get home this afternoon and be with him. And that I'm actually moved in.
And that you're in, and that he's happy and safe with his nanny, just sitting cuddling him as he feels sick. And
because if you go the other way, it's just bad.
Yeah,
like
no,
I could think about every other way that
don't
that
go
could
the other way.
And I'm just choosing not to. I just have to surrender.
Yeah.
Fucking surrender experiment. Surrender.
Surrender to it all.
Yep.
Just go all in.
Just go all in.
Speaking of all in, there's a story that I was going to share at the beginning of this because it's something that we've talked about before in the past. Now, what was that book that you were reading at one point, Samara? Do you remember what it was called? It was about a reclamation.
Oh.
We've spoken about it
Many a
on
times.
the podcast.
Yeah. No, you're going to have to do it.
It's another word for a cat.
Oh. I was like, what are you talking about? Pussy.
Yeah.
The reclamation.
The reclamation.
Yep.
So there was a reclamation situation in the weekend.
Yes.
A reclamation situation, if ever there was one.
So Jen rings me and I don't answer, and then she rings me again and I was like, hey dude, I'm just at the skate park. I think I'll ring you back. And she was like, I have the funniest story to tell you, and I have to share this with you ASAP.
Yeah, and it has to be like a voice-to-voice situation.
Yeah.
It can't just be, I'm not texting this to you. So there was a situation. I was at the hospital picking up my mother-in-law. She'd had a little surgery, and I was striding down the ramp towards the hospital from the car park, and there was a feeling that I couldn't quite identify, but something felt weird. And then I thought that the drawstring had come undone from my shorts. But as I looked down, what had actually happened was that the side of my knickers the glue had come away. And as I looked down.
On both sides?
No, but they're wide linen shorts. So it had popped open on one side and then just fell out the other leg. So had come undone, and the tickling feeling was in fact the side of my knickers as they fell down my leg, like out the hole.
I think what I had worked out in my head for some reason was that both sides had come undone and then I just came down in a line. So that's when I was imagining it, I was like, because when you first said it, I was like, oh, she must have had extra knickers in her pants. But that's worse because it literally was like around your leg and fell down.
So but walking down this ramp, there's people walking up the ramp towards me. So I mean, talk about vulnerability.
How wide was the space?
I'm going to say 2 meters.
Okay.
You know, because if someone was pushing a wheelchair up, you could still walk next to them down.
But still fairly close.
And there was a good 3 people very close and 2 people not far behind them walking towards me as this happened. And in that moment, I just had to own it. Yep. I just flicked that off my foot and I bent down and picked it up and just kept walking.
Yes.
And then I walked very fast up the hallway and into the bathroom and threw them into the bin and recomposed myself and then walked out of the bathroom and carried on with my morning.
In linen shorts with no undies.
Yeah, yeah.
That is a fucking good
Talk
story.
about a reclamation.
Talk about vulnerability.
Yeah. Because what do? And the moral of that story is sometimes dumb shit's just going to happen and you just have to keep moving forward.
You just have to ring your best friend and laugh about it.
Kick those knickers off your foot. Chuck them in the bin.
Sometimes you just got to walk into that house of gas, just face the fire.
Yeah, face the fire. And that's what we're taking away from today is facing the fire.
Oh, shit.
Because the topic that we're going to talk about today, well, there's a couple of little facets that I think we'll go into because there's a conversation we had over brekkie this morning, which I think we might look into that a little bit as well. But one of the things I wanted to talk about today was imposter syndrome.
Ugh. Yeah, I had that the other day.
I think everybody has it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw a really good chat with Kim. Can't remember how to say Kim's last name. Boho Kim.
Oh, yep.
I am Boho Blonde Kim.
Yep.
Talking about
Haberly. Is it Haberly?
It definitely begins with a H.
H. It's something like that. Yeah.
I don't know. Love her. I think she's great.
I do too.
And talking about imposter syndrome and there's a phrase that's come up. You have said as well because we both really love Brene Brown. It's that comparison is the thief of joy, right? Mm-hmm. And comparison and imposter syndrome. It all ties in together, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, okay, talk to me about your experience with imposter syndrome.
I've had it many a times in different parts of my life, and then I don't think we all have it at all times.
No, not at all times.
But we definitely all have it. We all go through it 100% because I think with things like social media and things these days, even if we feel successful, someone's doing it better.
Yeah.
And then I think we have the imposter syndrome that sits beneath that.
But I mean, it would be a short podcast if we finish it here, but I would say to that's that same opportunity that what we just spoke about, right? It's like if you're feeling like that, if someone's doing it better, you can either look at it as like it's an imposter syndrome, what's the point? Or you can be like, okay, well, here's what I need to strive for.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And I think that's a whole piece of community over competition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think we should only ever be competing with being better versions of ourselves, not necessarily being who they are. Because even for me, I would look back in the day at the different educators at the time, people like Kim, she's phenomenal. So many phenomenal educators out there right now. And I would feel inferior, and that's the space I wanted to be in. And then I think it leads to jealousy instead of leading to inspiration.
Yeah.
You know, you would feel like, oh, I'm not doing enough. They're doing it better. How do I do it better? What have I got to do? And I'm like, and then you, instead of looking internally at your own shit, you go externally because it's easier. Whereas now it's more so internal, like, oh, why am I feeling that way? What are they doing? How can I up my game? I think for me, the imposter syndrome can come in lots of different areas. I remember when I started Salon Rising, and I've said this before, there was imposter syndrome around wealth for me, around doing a finance program. And if I'd said that to you, you would be like, you're an idiot. Like you've built this beautiful business that I've watched your journey, right? So you know to teach this because you know that you've done it. But for me at the time, it felt sticky within my finances.
And I think though,
not because of how I was running my business.
No.
But because of the situation behind the scenes.
Yeah, behind the scenes.
Not in my business, in my personal life.
But I also think too, it's remembering, and I think I did it as a blog post for us or something. It's like, you're not trying to be an accountant.
I am absolutely not.
And I think that's the really important thing to remember. It's like all you're trying to do is make it easier for people to understand the information that they're being presented with in their business every day.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And if you really bring it back to that, how could you have imposter syndrome? You can do that with your eyes closed.
Yes. Yeah, but I think it's very easy for us to go. And my coach said to me at that time, she said to me, you're not trying to teach a Fortune 500 company how to run their business.
Yeah.
You're trying to teach people who are just like you, who are struggling just like you were, how to know and understand easier and better. And I was like, okay, now I don't feel like such an imposter anymore.
Yeah.
So I also heard something one day that said go in search of imposter syndrome, because it means that you are going to constantly force yourself to grow and move outside of those sticky points to know more.
I totally agree with that, because there's two different ways to look at those situations, and you can either look at it, and this is really important too to remember, you need to flip the spotlight and look at the situation, not at yourself. Mm-hmm. Because if you're bringing it back to yourself is when you start to feel your imposter syndrome kicking in and all that sort of thing. Whereas if you can just look at that situation and go, okay, what can I learn from this? Mm-hmm. What can I take away from it? Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Then it's hard to feel the same way about it. Just taking you like, okay, let's just look at this. I think in this particular chat I was looking at, Kim was saying, it's like, well, I could get really upset about that, or I can put my marketing brain on and go, oh, okay, so what does that tell me about what I've done and what I need to do differently next time? And I thought that's so true. It's like, stop looking at this. Again, don't take it personally. Literally up my arm. Like it's that, that remembering that this isn't a personal thing, especially for people in their businesses. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Do you agree?
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so are there any other times you felt imposter syndrome?
I think there's many times I've had imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Do you feel like it always relates back to the same kind of thing?
I feel like for me, imposter syndrome comes with teaching.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though it's literally written in your human design that you're here to teach.
Yeah.
That's an interesting
When I
one to
teach,
unpack.
I'm worried that, am I doing enough? Am I being enough? Have I learned enough? Am I going to give the right advice? Should someone else be doing this? Like it's very much when I teach. And I know when I teach it's different, like when I'm on screen and I know how much it's resonating. But I think I'm still a salon owner. So I go through my ebbs and flows of how I feel being a salon owner and whether I'm doing enough and whether I'm being enough and whether I'm running well, and then that can creep into Salon Rising for me.
Yeah, okay.
So I think while I am a salon owner, that's the same thing, but I think that's also helped me in the beginning of this journey of Salon Rising, is that I am a salon owner and I can relate in different ways. And I didn't leave my salon in order to become a coach because I didn't want a salon. I did it because my why became really strong on how I could support and other business owners that were going through the same troubles and help them move through it faster.
See, and that brings me to the conversation that we were having this morning, because we talk about this a lot and we really talk about it a lot in our programs, is the why. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's delve into the why, and remembering, guys, that your why will change. Yeah?
My why changes all of the time.
Yeah.
It's still fundamentally something that all connects, but my why even 6 months ago is very different to my why now.
Yeah.
Why meaning, why do you get out of bed in the morning?
Yeah, because that's the...
So like let's break down when we say...
So when we
what
say
your
why, because we talk about our why and then we also talk about purpose, and they're different. So for us, from a Salon Rising perspective, what do we see as being a why and what do we see as being a purpose? What do you think they are?
And it's different. Your why, my why in Salon Rising will be different.
Yeah.
But our purpose is generally the same.
Yeah. In my head, and tell me if you think differently, the purpose is like the purpose to what you're doing.
Yep.
Whereas your why is like your underlying, okay, I'm going to go and do this.
Why am I in this business?
Yeah. Or life or anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Why am I choosing to get up and do this every day?
Yeah.
Again, your whys are going to be different in different businesses. My whys in La Sorella and my whys in Salon Rising are different.
Yeah.
But my overall why has changed to what it was 6 months ago, to what it was 12 months ago, to what it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Quite dramatically. And as I peel back the layers, I realized that I always wanted what I have now. There was a lot of obstacles in the way to get to where I am now.
Yeah.
So my why now is to live a really simple, present, purposeful, connected life.
Okay.
That's my why.
So present. So give me like an example to each of those things. So present being.
I am off social media now.
Yep.
Which is huge. I have been connected on social media for a really long time, and in the last maybe 6 months got even more so. So I've always been big on all the socials. I've always been big on my page, and something happened that made me go internal and go, hold on, why am I doing this? And I realized as I've been doing that, as I've been seeing a cranial sacral therapist, a lot of it is for me to feel my value. Because I'm getting the validation.
Okay.
The validation of I'm making the right choices. I'm being the right type of person. I'm just like, I need to get that validation, that value from myself and not seeking it from others. And I do love what social media does. I love the fact that I've shared certain points of my journey and women are saying like, thank you.
Yeah.
I really needed this. I really needed this connection. I can really feel you in this. And I think that's really important, but not in the way I was doing it, I realize.
I think because I was saying to you this morning, because you're still on Salon Rising social media and all that sort of thing.
Yep.
But the difference is creation over consumption.
Yes.
You are not consuming social media
I'm
now.
not consuming social media at all.
It's all about the creation side of things.
It's all about the creation side of it. So I'll create for Salon Rising, I'll create for La Sorella, but I was creating for my personal life and not living my personal life.
Yeah.
I would take videos and even for me tuning into that now of going, I used to take videos of this to kind of show my life. Now I'm just living it.
Yeah.
And no one else. It kind of also switched. I've got a client who I'm really close to who's a personal friend and she doesn't have social media. So when we catch up so deeply. And I was just like, this is connection for me. And I'm not giving the connection because I'm just looking at what people do on social media and feeling that that's enough. One of the things that I love so hard about you is you remember shit. So like you'll be like, have a good time at that appointment today. And I'm like, you're a freak. How do you remember that? And it's because your brain is not so filled with all of the other shit. Because
my brain is very filled.
No.
But I optimize.
The useless shit.
I optimize it better now.
Your brain is always filled, but my brain was filled with useless shit. Like that I wasn't taking the time to think through the people in my circle.
Yeah.
I was external with that.
I'm very focused on the people in my circle.
How can I help other people instead of being like, how can I pull back and be within my circle? And that became so prevalent to me because I was like, hold on, I'm searching to help outside. How can I come back in?
Yeah. Okay. So what were the words? Present, purposeful.
Present, purpose, connection.
See, that definitely speaks into the connection side of things.
Yeah.
Because you have more
Simple.
authentic connection.
Yeah.
And as I was saying, like, it doesn't change the real connections because it's like, oh, sure, well, all the dumb shit that I would have DM'd you, I just called you
or
now.
text me now. Yeah.
Instead.
Yeah.
But okay, so more.
And I realize I'm doing things now just because I want to do them instead of once I got off, I realized that I was doing things and being like, oh, this will look cool on the gram.
Oh, wow.
Not intentionally, but like I'd do it and then be like, oh, I could put this on Insta. It would be cute.
Yeah, okay.
I don't feel like that. I need that but I think too, when you're living an unhappy life, the validation is important to think I can get through this. It is okay. And there's a song that I played on my Insta a while ago called Painted Imperfect. And I feel like that's what I was doing for my life because it was much easier than actually living how horrendous it could be at points.
Yeah.
And I would do that in all facets, not just social media, in life in general, you know, and it's not until you change your life that you go, oh, fuck, I didn't realize how, until you're triggered by someone doing something so lovely and thinking this is not normal. You know, this morning I left the house and my partner, because he knew I was on a time schedule, already had my coffee and my water bottle. My coffee was in my car sitting in there and my water bottle was filled up. Like, to have such deep connection and simplicity in those moments of being like, that's amazing. I don't need to search for outside validation anymore. And I realized too that, as I said on the last podcast, you know, what I post is 1% of who we are.
Yeah, exactly right.
And I don't want anyone thinking this is, again, just painting it, a picture of it. I don't want that. And I think for me, it really became, he's so present, incredibly present in our life. I never see him on his phone, that I just wanted my life to become simple again. I want my kids off their devices. I want them to be jumping on the trampoline. I want to make sourdough in the mornings. I want to cook for them every night. I want to sit at the kitchen bench with them, and things like social media take me away from that really easy, and definitely was an addiction for me. So going cold turkey and just being like, I'm done. And once I did it, I was like, there's this sense of freedom. And I said to my partner last night, do you notice a difference in me since coming off? And he goes, yeah, but no. Like, he was like, you didn't let it consume you. But then at the same time, in certain points I did.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was obviously very easy to do when I was single. I didn't go to bed with someone at night, so you kind of just consume all of this. And there's also so many amazing things that you can take from social media. Like, so much I was taught, and recipes that I love. And I'm still on TikTok. I jump on if I want a little bit of a scroll, and I'll scroll TikTok because I don't find it as confronting for me.
Really?
Yeah,
that's so
because it's people I don't know. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Because I am very, as you know, I suffer from anxiety, and I was medicated, and I've come off my medication. I was only on it for 5 months, but when I went through that real tough time, I definitely needed it. I was losing a lot of weight, not eating, and I need to be the best version I can be of myself and my children. And I've just come off it, and, you know, I'm really open about that. Like, I texted you the other day and said, I'm having a real bad day. I'm really anxious. I feel like sky's falling. I'm on top of me. And then I was like, okay, what can I do? And I can come out pretty fast now.
Yeah.
Whereas the anxiety was so bad back then, I didn't have the support to get me through. Whereas I do have so much support now, and I've got Lee with me at night, and, you know, he, like, that calming person of someone just loving me and being like, what do you need? And
just a little bit of redirection where you're getting trapped in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think I make up stories in my head which is anxiety, right? Like making up full scenarios in my head. And I realized I was doing that on social media. I was playing out full scenarios of other things that were happening, or, you know, like maybe someone thinks this about me, or maybe I'm like, shouldn't. And I realized I was also asking for that with me being so open on social. Of course people are going to say that. Like, I knew people were talking to my people about it.
Yeah, okay.
And then I was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? And then I was justifying, and then I was validating, and then justifying. And I was like, oh my fucking God, this is a full-time job. I need to stop. What am I doing?
Yeah, you don't need a full-time job of that. There's plenty of other things
I could be doing
up that space.
Yeah. And I think it was just because when you have gone through, and you've watched me go through what I've gone through, when you go through something like that, and somebody that was meant to be your person, my ex-husband, can decide and make up so many false accusations about you and decide all this crazy ass shit that you haven't done, it's really hard for you not to be like, hold on, am I this person?
Yeah, I know.
Like, what? Am I doing that? Have I done that? Like, they're so decided that you've done that you're like, hold on, have I done that?
Yeah.
Even though you know you haven't. And then you spend that time justifying, like, even for me, one of my best friends, when one of the crazy shit came out that he decided, one of my best friends was with me. She's, for me, the only person in the world that knows that wasn't ever the conversation that was had.
Yeah.
And I still feel obligated to really justify myself to other people when I tell that story.
Yeah.
But to her, I don't have to, because she was with me that night. So she knows that was not a conversation that was ever had.
Yeah.
But it's been a really big ride for me to have people, and it's not just people, and I think I had to keep coming back. So I think this for me is the big growth moment, right, is to keep coming back internally.
Yeah, for sure.
And going, how do I make change? What am I doing? How do I make change? What am I doing? Because I cannot change somebody's mind.
No, you cannot. No matter what you want.
No matter what I want.
You cannot change it. You cannot control it.
No, I can't
control
control somebody else, but I can control myself.
Yes.
And if something like that is spinning me, I can control what I consume. I can control how that makes me feel. I can control how much energy I give it. I control my boundaries.
Yeah.
And my boundaries I was pushing all of the time to seek that validation, to feel understood, because for me, one of my pinnacles of success was a long marriage.
Yeah, okay.
You know, like my pinnacle of success was to be the perfect daughter-in-law, to have the perfect marriage, to have, you know, to grow old with that one person. Like, that's why I fought for that for so long, because for me that was success. I came from a separated family. I never wanted to be that or do that. I didn't want to blend families. I didn't want any of that. And so, you know, being okay and processing for so long, and, you know, like my friends, guys, they watched for a long time me fight a really losing battle, but I was determined every single moment to change. And I think for a lot of the time we have in our heads this idea of what it could look like. So we hold on to the hope of what that could be. I'm going to hold on real tight to the hope of what that could look like. But that's not what life was.
That is fruitless.
Fruitless.
You need to hold on to what is real.
Yes.
Not what it might be.
Not it might have been.
Yeah.
And that's what I was doing. I was holding on
That's
hope.
not a good emotional investment.
No. I was holding on hope of what it could look like, what it could be, what he could be, what we could be. And it just wasn't. And you'd have glimmers of it. And then I was talking about this. I've talked about this quite a bit. You have glimmers of it, and that's what you post on social media, because you hold to the glimmer.
Do you think, though, in consuming social media, that gave you this idea that was the way that it should be?
No, it was all from
internal?
childhood.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't social media. I've definitely done that in business, but I've never looked at another relationship and thought that's what my relationship should be like.
So you have done that in business?
Probably. Oh, yeah, because that's the imposter syndrome.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the jealousy. Like, I'm like, someone else is doing it better. How do I do it better? Whereas I never have looked at a relationship and thought they're doing it better. Like, I never, you know, people go, well, that relationship looks so good. And like, because I'm also aware of what shit looks like behind closed doors because I was living it.
Yeah.
So it didn't so much for me. Now I actually think people are probably thinking more so with my new relationship when it was on Instagram, that's probably false.
Oh,
you know what I mean? But it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, I've gone very internal, and I think this podcast will be a lot of my conversations of having them, and I'm good with that. Like we started this podcast so we could be raw and we could be open and we could share things. And there's stuff we're always going to keep to ourselves, right? No one ever wants to know everyone's fucking dirty laundry, but out of such like respect for my children, I'm always going to be cautious of how I speak and things like that. But yeah, for me, I just, you know, I think I was just building this life based off the next thing, because if I could keep it moving, then it wouldn't all fall apart. If we could get the next house, if we could get the next car, if we could have the caravan, if we had the holidays, then we would be okay.
Do you feel like people are doing that in their businesses as well? Because I do.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
we talked a little bit about
Yeah.
that with Ange, you know, and when we had Ange on the podcast, and she's just like, people all of a sudden end up in this place. It's like, how did I get here?
Yeah, yeah.
What led us on this journey to here? This is not where I actually wanted to be.
Yeah. And people think that that's where they should be instead of like reevaluating, what do I actually want? What do I want from life? And, you know, we were having this conversation this morning. For me, what do I want out of life? Simple.
Yeah.
For me, it's simple. I want to go.
But I think it was important to, because we were going back and forth on this one, it was important to define to what simple was to you.
Yes.
Because when I was thinking simple, I'm like, no, you don't. But what your definition of simple was
different.
Not what I was thinking.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, well then that's fine. I can get
simple
on board with that.
to me is like, if you look at what you want your day to day to look like.
Yeah.
Simple is filled with friends and family. Simple is going to bed with my partner every night. Simple is lying in bed with my children, talking to them about their day. Simple is hearing my kids laugh in the morning. Simple is cooking them really good food because I love to cook and I have the time. Simple is having someone that thinks about me as much as I think about them.
Yeah.
It is walking down to the creek in the afternoon. It's going to the skate park. It's having the deep conversations. It's playing the games. It's watching the movies. It's like, that is simple for me, you know?
Yeah.
It's coming to work and enjoying my job. It's, you know, being fulfilled by helping other people. Like, that's the idea of simple. And it has been cluttered by a lot of other things over time.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because, you know, you go through imposter syndrome with things like finances. Like you and I spoke about this morning. I'm still in the midst of my divorce.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I will be until that's settled.
That is a long process.
But the house is sold, so there's money sitting in the bank. So you can feel like it's bizarre now to feel like there's this money sitting in the bank, but it's not touchable.
Yeah.
So at all points you're still here, and you know you can't make any moves because everything you've built is sitting here untouchable.
Yeah.
And so you've got to stay where you're sitting, and you've got to be okay with it and okay with the uncomfortable. But for me, I was saying to Jen, my idea now of, you know, I'm renting, I'm super happy renting, and I've always owned a house. I've owned a house since I was 20 years old. I am at peace completely renting. I feel so comfortable in our home. And my idea now is, you know, like my idea of financial freedom is to be able to go to Kmart and drop $500 on containers I need for home, or being able to, like I said yesterday, like spend $95 on grabbing some really good seafood on the way home. And like, that's my idea of financial freedom. And so many people I talk to are saying the same thing. Like, I just want to be able to just spend, not like my idea of success is not a Birkin bag. It's not a $5 million home. Like, I love that all my family is jammed into one space now. It's just more that funny. I want to travel with my partner. Like, travel definitely comes into it, but I want to travel because I want to see the world with him and the kids. It's not so much of now I've really internalized what it looks like anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
It's about how it feels to me.
Yeah.
Like, if I look back in 50 years' time, am I happy with the way my life was? For me, not for anybody else.
Yes. And I think that's really important because that's what we were talking about this morning. It's that our whys at the moment are really, really different, right?
Yep.
It was still driven to the same purpose, but the why is different.
What's your why?
I am my why.
Yep.
This person right here is my why right now.
Yep.
Like, I have dedicated, and it doesn't mean that I'm less dedicated to any of the other people and things in my life, but my underlying why is me.
Meaning what?
Meaning that I have always put the desires, needs and dreams of others before my own. And whilst I will still support the desires and dreams of everybody else, I will no longer put them in front of my own. So like, I'm still there. I'm still in, you know, I was saying, it's like, I know I'm still a mother. It's not that I don't love my kids. I'm still at every sports game they have. They still do everything. But it doesn't mean that I am am sacrificing the things that, and I don't like the word sacrificing because it really gets to me when people talk about their kids and their sacrifices, because it's like, well, that's your choice. You chose to parent in a certain way. I have chosen to parent in a certain way, but I've also done that in all my relationships in my life, friendships and like romantic relationships, where I have put the needs and desires of other people above my own.
You've 100% done that for me.
Oh, to the detriment of my own health. Yeah. But even like my earliest boyfriend, who is still one of my dearest friends and I talk to all the time, and he is like mid-40s, same as me, semi-retired, just playing the finance game because I put him through university so that he could have dreams because his parents had done such a shit job. And so, and I can say that, and even if he listens, he will attest that that would be the case. Yeah, it's that same, I had a lump of money given to me after I had my son that I could have invested in my own growth and development, but I put it into my husband's, and he's not driven like me. I may as well have just thrown that money at a wall because it gave him another skill that he's never used, because that's not who he's not a big move. You know, he is, I always say, like, if you could like conjure an image between the two of us, like he's just like this little rowboat just whistling, you know, slowly up that river, like just do.
That's 100% Tim.
Just cruising, and I'm like this heavy metal song with like pictures flashing everywhere, but that's fine. But yeah, it's that understanding the difference now and being comfortable enough to say, I'm actually my why. You know what I mean?
It's huge for you.
Huge. Unpopular opinion.
The people we were a couple of years ago to the people we are now.
Who are they? Who even are those people?
Could you imagine having the conversation you had with me the other day regarding Salon Rising a couple of years ago?
No. No.
I love that I haven't even suggested it either and I made you have the conversation.
Oh, you didn't even need to make me. I just have these conversations now.
No, but I never brought it up because it was always the intention.
Yeah.
It's interesting watching you find your fierceness and being okay with that and then being like, all right, this is where we're going now.
Oh, yeah.
And watching your dips of being like, I don't know if this is okay. Can I be this way? And I'm like, yeah, you absolutely can.
Yeah.
You're fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a journey. I find myself like dropping people random emails and DMs now that I never would have done.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you should come and be on our podcast.
Anyone, those people listening, answer gender.
But you actually should come and be on our podcast because we're great.
It is absolutely no secret that I have always loved the Kevin Murphy products, as they are just so beautiful. When we opened my new space 3 years ago, I knew I had to get Kevin Murphy retail range in, and everybody loved it. Recently, I have made the decision to change to Kevin Murphy Colour and take on the Colour Me range. We had already been using the lighteners in salon for some time and loving them, so this just felt like a really natural step to go all in with Kevin Murphy. The driving force to change was actually led by my team, and we were all ready for something new. This change has honestly been one of the greatest moves I have made for my business. The onboarding process was so seamless, and we have felt so supported by our rep and our tech support, and the results that we are getting are amazing. The condition these colours provide is truly exceptional, and my team is loving it, and so are our clients. If you have been thinking about making the move, or if you're just interested in what Ozday and Kevin Murphy have to offer, then please click on the link in our show notes and reach out. You will not be disappointed. But yeah, it's interesting that growth and all of it, like if you guys actually listen, is internal.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
you and I internal,
For sure.
and working internally. And what is our business other than a reflection of who we are?
Yeah.
So the internal is really important.
Sometimes we need to sell on rising ourselves.
So we did that in the last podcast. It was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do that. We're like, time to practice what we preach.
Yes.
Because we're very much like that. I was listening to a podcast yesterday or the day before on my walk, and it was in that podcast I was telling you about.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And, you know, he was saying it's Diary of a CEO. He's amazing.
Yeah, I
Listen
love
to the
it.
podcast. Yeah, he was saying like sometimes we want to do it, but we don't actually want to do it. Like, and I was like, I don't understand. And then when he said it, so like I want to have a six pack. I want to be skinny. I want to be fit as fuck, but I don't actually want it because I don't want to do anything that goes with that. Like I want it,
But you don't.
but I just don't. Like I just go, oh shit. I don't actually. I want to eat the cornetto after dinner. I want to like
you can be
have
fit
pancakes for
and have a
breakfast.
cornetto.
No, I just don't want to be fit. I don't want to do anything of the things to get. I want to be at home making sourdough. I don't want to be out for a run.
Oh, yeah. See, no, I want to be fit.
Yeah. See? But there's things that we think we should want, and then we don't.
Oh,
and then
yeah,
we
but it's
then we blame ourselves for not wanting it. Like it's like when people are like right now listening, be like, I should want to get a bigger salon, but I don't actually want it. So listen to that voice.
It's the word should.
Yeah.
Should.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
No more shoulds.
Our languaging is really important.
Oh, yeah.
Real important of how we,
Words are so powerful. I was telling this story after we filmed a special podcast, which hasn't come out yet, which is super secret, which I can't tell you about. But anyway, in my past life, when I was a Pilates instructor, we had to do our there's this place called the Czech Institute, Paul Czech. And we had to do like all our lifestyle training and all that sort of thing, which is where I learned all those principles that we still use today. Very resonates. But we watched this thing about these Buddhist monks who they were, with these scientists, and they're going through this jungle, and there's no water, and they get to this place where there's like this stagnant pool, right? And they're going over it, and they're going over to drink it. And the scientists are like, no, you cannot do this. Like, it is so dangerous. And so they're like getting it, they're putting it under the microscope, and they're showing them like this water is not drinkable. And then they all just sit down, the monks, not the scientists, and they get this water and they pray over it, okay? And they say this prayer, and then they literally put it back underneath this microscope, and it is different because they told it nice things. So from that day onwards, and for many years to come, I don't do it now, but maybe it's a practice I should get back into. I used to write my water bottle love notes and just like write like things on the side of it, of all the love notes that I was telling my water, because it was so, that's how powerful your words are.
Yeah.
Like they can literally change the biochemical makeup.
Well, that was another podcast I listened to, lol. And she was talking about that. Like like the pinnacle to everything is what we think. The pinnacle to everything is what we think. Otherwise, we turn our thoughts into our beliefs, into our patterns, into everything. So pinnacle is what we think. And it's so easy. Like since I've been seeing this clinical psychologist who it's been powerful in so many, it's like a punch to the face. And I've really changed my life since then. I've really started to just ponder everything he says rather than, I don't know. When I do something now, I can hear him in my head and I'm like, oh, fuck, I do that. And it's been so interesting. And I have never, as much as I have since seeing him, realized how bad my self-talk is.
It's not even just internal self-talk. Sometimes you self-talk that out loud.
I know.
And I just want to slap you.
I know. But other people wouldn't see that. Only my close people would see that because I put on a facade. But my self-talk has been so bad. So bad that I'm like, no wonder I'm anxious. No wonder I'm sad. No wonder, because I'll be like, oh my God, it's that overall thinking, this is what's happening, this is what's going on. And my self-talk is so bad.
That's when you just need to wrap your arms around you and give yourself a little cuddle and tell yourself that you're going to be okay.
But I think the self-talk gets bad when the noise outside, and it has been large from my ex.
Yep.
So it's really easy to get into the self-talk and to need the validation because the self-talk is so bad, right? So why, full circle, why is it bad? Why do I need the validation? Because the self-talk is so noisy, and the only person that can validate me is me.
Yes.
The only person that can kind of come back to me is me. And when I coach, when I'm mentoring, when I'm so lit up that I'm like, this is the only space that I need to do this in. You know, like this is this space where I can feel, podcast included, this is the space where I can feel like I can still do what I'm doing. I don't need to do it to random strangers.
Yeah.
You know, and that's my human design, to be invited. So if you're listening, you're inviting yourself into my world. If you're in my containers, you're inviting, and I am very vulnerable in those containers. Like, I'm like, this is our first session. This is what just happened today. Like, I'm very, very, very vulnerable in those spaces because I feel safe enough to be like that because it's small containers. That's where I want to pour more of that into, and I want to shut down the noise because my purpose is to help others.
Yes.
Is to really help others.
That's funny. My purpose is definitely to help others.
Yep.
My purpose has always been to help others.
Yep.
I think that's how we started doing the things that we did because we did it to help people.
Yes.
And then every avenue we've taken since then has taken us into something that we can help people.
100%.
Yeah.
And when I say internal, I'm going to share this because I shared this morning with Jen, but I'm going to share it in a different way. But when I say internal, a lot of it has been in different forms of, it's not even necessarily just like I always say, like journal and stuff, and that helps for other people. It doesn't so much help for me, but journaling is definitely a step for people that are like, I've got to get my thoughts out. For me, it's in prayer.
Yeah.
It really is. It's to be like, in my own way, I need to give this over. I need to surrender to this. I need help. And, you know, I look back over certain periods of my life. My dad's really Christian, and I've always fought against that. But now for me, it's kind of like, all right, I need my person in my boat. So like I need my something in my boat. You know, I need a higher power in my boat. And we've always spoken about universe. And I definitely think so much in my life has happened that somebody is helping me construct this because, you know, even when I look at Salon Rising, like Jen and I knew I never wanted to do life without Jen. Jen was with me for so long because she knew I couldn't do life without Jen. But Jen also, like, we were brought together our whole lives. Like you and I have been together in many other lives. We've brought together our whole lives. We've had this purpose. This business has been this reason. And Jen was like, I want to do something creative and I want to do something that I can pour my words into because she's a fucking wizard when it comes to how she can write and how she thinks and, you know, and then enter Rich, who was like, I need something purposeful. Like I don't want to just go into someone else's business and just I want purpose. And you've put the three of us together and it's, you know, so
dream team.
Everything has led. And even when I was going through my, you know, the end of my marriage, I would just be like, just show me the way, show me what this is like. And it's all that internalizing.
Yeah. Like
it's that thought process of internalizing and being like, where am I meant to, instead of trying to seek. I know you guys know, like I will do this and then I will go to my people and be like I'll feel them out to make sure that what I'm doing is right. You know, like even with when I met Lee and obviously we moved in that direction, I remember saying to my best friend, like, I'm terrified. And she's like, why won't you go all in? And I was like, it's just too soon. And, you know, I don't want to make the wrong decision. And she actually fought against, like I was waiting for her to say like, stop, you're running before you can walk. But she actually fought against me and was like, what are you doing? You know what you're doing. You can trust this.
Yeah.
You know, and so for me, it's like having that internalizing and then having those people in your corner that you feel so safe with that you're like, okay, this person's going to tell me if I'm fucking up. And, you know, I will go to certain people because I know certain people will fight me on it. My sister, for example, like I was like, if she has an opinion, she's going to give it to me. And she was the same way. And Trace was the same. And at that point, everybody was like, you need to trust your own decisions. You know that this is right.
And what's the worst that can happen?
I know,
it doesn't work.
Then you still look at validation, right? Because you're judging yourself because you're like, I've got 3 babies. Like, what if this goes wrong? What am I going to do to them? Nothing. I love them. They're going to be fine.
Yeah.
You know, and
at no time do we ever know what's going to happen.
None.
In the future, ever.
Never in my wildest dreams did I think 12 months ago that I would be where I am right now.
Yeah.
But I am a completely different, happier person now than what I was 12 months ago. 12 months ago, I was a very broken Samara. You can go back to the podcast and they will show you that.
Oh, they were so bad.
That was so,
Like getting blood from a stone.
yeah. Yeah. But it's easier now to show up vulnerable because I can actually spill some of the vulnerability.
Vulnerability.
So, yeah. Whoa, that took a turn 49 minutes later. So, I guess for me, it's your why. So, how are you supporting that why?
Yeah.
You know, and if your why is you, how are you supporting that why? What decisions are you making for you and what are you doing to continue to do that first and foremost? And for me, same thing. Like, you have to make decisions. If my life, and I realized if I wanted my life simple and present, social media doesn't align with that right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that takes time and space out of my capabilities. And I realized my head was so full, and when I posted that, when I was real vulnerable that day, there was like 280 DMs. So then I was like not paying attention to all the other things in my life that needed attention because I was stuck in this. This wasn't doing anything for me other than playing to my insecurities or my validation.
I think there'll come a time when there's not as much background noise that's going on that you won't feel that you need to remove yourself from it so much. Do you know what I mean? But I definitely think, and again, guys, it's not like you're not going to see it because you totally are, but it's in that different space of creation.
Yes.
Creation over consumption.
Yep.
And I think that's something that everybody can take away from, right?
Yeah, agreed. It's, and I simmered down, then went wholly opposite and simmered right up. And now I've gone cold turkey.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot of the internalizing, sitting in that space of being okay that you like, I need to just sit with my own thoughts right now. Because your why is so important. And what are you doing? So sit and have a think about that. What is my why? Yeah. And it could be.
And remember, no shoulds.
No, yeah.
It can't be a should.
My why, if you're like, my why should be my children, it's not.
Yeah.
If you're like, what is it? What is your why? Why do you get up out of bed every morning? And it will change all the time. So keep assessing it.
Yeah.
My why 3 months ago was just those my three babies.
Same. I reckon what are we now? I don't even know what month we're in. Like this year, my why has changed so much.
Mine too.
Yeah.
And still like focusing on them. Like it's my why, you being the best version of you and focusing on you only makes them better.
Yeah, agreed.
But my why, as I've come back, I'm like, ooh, what is it? What is it? What is it? Searching for it. What's my why? Why do I get out of bed? What is it? For me, it's that present, that simple life of just connection.
Yeah.
Like that real ultimate connection. So whoever I'm with gets full, deep connection of me rather than I've got all this other noise externally.
Yeah.
You get full connection instead. So simplifying down in those areas so that my why can be lived, and the same for you. Like, again, if the most extraordinary opportunity came along for you, you would choose yourself now.
Yes, definitely.
But also that can't come because you live here now. Salon Rising, the podcast with just Samara is lame.
The podcast.
It'll just be that podcast.
The podcast. Okay, so the takeaway, gang, is that everybody needs to focus on their why.
Yeah.
I even gave Richard the task of finding his why.
What is your why, Rich?
He's still thinking about it.
Can you post a little story before we post this?
Oh, no. I'm putting all our whys on Salon Rising social media.
Oh, look at you go.
Yeah.
So we'll know Richard's why when this comes out.
Yeah. He's just processing it. Yeah.
You have a why? I would know. Richard has a different perspective on his why.
Richard is off mic and cannot be heard right now, but after we had a lengthy debrief about whys,
Jen and Richard talk like
his purpose.
2 hours a day. At least. And I just jump in. I remember when we started this business and I was like, I feel like Jen, like Rich, I think we need Jen. And Rich was like, yeah, okay. And like when they first met, like it was just like this, like they were just like meeting, like, and now they're just like obsessed. They talk to each other more than they talk to their partners.
Yeah.
Deeply obsessed.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll hear all of our whys, but I think it's really important for anybody to really just sit and, think about why you're doing the fuck of what you're doing.
Yeah, because if you can focus on your why, it's going to make it a lot easier to be striving towards the things that you want to go.
Making decisions.
Yeah.
You're
why
like,
are you putting one foot in front of the other?
Yeah, like, do I want to go that way? Well, what's my why? Does it support that or does it not? No, it doesn't support that. Okay, then I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, so if it doesn't support, if you want to make that decision but it doesn't actually support your why.
Yeah.
Have you guys all taken a shot every time we said why in that podcast? Because you'd be dead.
Please don't die. Now, you need to go and pick up one of your whys, though, because she's going to finish school in a minute. So we need to wrap this one up.
I actually am going to go pick up my goddaughter first.
Oh, excellent.
Connection.
Yes.
And then go pick up my little Sadie girl and then get home to a sick child. Oh, I just forgot about that. Now it just came back in.
Love it.
All right, guys. Thanks
so much, guys. And we out.
Ozday is showing the love to Salon Rising listeners with some incredible offers. Head to ozday.com/salonrising and find out how Kevin Murphy and Ozday can help your business rise.